Good morning, everyone. Thanks for making it up. In this session, we're going to talk about how Code Builder can be useful for admins and others on the team. Before we dive in, just a reminder that Salesforce is a publicly traded company and you should make all purchasing decisions based on generally available product. I'm Stephanie Maddox, and this is Jonathan Gellin, and we're from the Code Builder team. Many of you have probably heard of Salesforce DX and the powerful source-driven tooling that it provides. I'm curious, give me an indication if you're able, if you've tried or wanted to use DX and had some struggles with the setup and couldn't get it done. I see some hands out there. You're not alone. We've heard from admins and developers that the setup can be a little intense. It can be too complex, take too much time, or maybe you're not even allowed to install things locally on your machine. Luckily, there's a new tool that can help you, and that's Code Builder. Code Builder brings the latest and greatest DX tooling to the web. It's powered by AWS as a part of our partnership and brings a Salesforce-optimized development environment right to the browser. It supports all Salesforce languages and frameworks, and also includes some point-and-click interfaces to get metadata or work with SQL queries. With Code Builder, you also have access to other extensions beyond Salesforce. So anything that's published to OpenVSX, you can add. So you can add other community or third-party extensions that you may use because most of you are working with more than just Salesforce. So having everything you need in your environment can make you more productive. Now, as an admin, you cover a lot of ground, and you need your tools to be easy and efficient. And for example, if you're doing something like building a SQL query, going through all these steps that you see at the top might feel pretty heavy duty, might feel like a lot of work, or maybe you just can't get it done to be able to do that. Code Builder makes this much easier for you. Code Builder brings that same tooling that's available on the desktop with VS Code right to your browser, already preloaded and ready to go for you. Code Builder already includes the Salesforce extension pack and the CLI right in your browser. You just launch it from an org and you're ready to go. With Code Builder, you access that same tooling. It's just fewer steps and fewer clicks, and you can be ready to build in minutes. This makes it really easy for everyone on the team to get access to what they need. So whether you prefer to work on the web or have to work on the web, or if others on the team want to work locally on the desktop, you can access the same tooling either way. So you don't need to try to compare different words, different tools with each other. You can access the same things. And either way, you have the powerful code editing capabilities along with those point-and-click interfaces. Now let's look at how Code Builder relates to your org. Code Builder is added to your org as a managed package. From there, you can assign permissions to decide which users get access to this new tool. As a user in Code Builder, I can then connect to any orgs that I have permission to. For example, if as a user I don't have access to a full copy sandbox, I won't be able to connect to that from Code Builder. And I'm thrilled to announce that our GA of Code Builder is next month. And I want to give you a sneak peek of another piece that you'll see at GA. So at GA, as we roll this out, you will see a new setup page in your setup menu called Code Builder. This will allow you, as the admin, to self-enable Code Builder for your org. Go ahead and grab that package, and then assign the permissions to decide which users get access to this tool. All right, so that's a little bit about what Code Builder is and how easy it makes it to access the tooling, but let's see what we can do with it. John, how about we dive into a demo?
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Okay, let's check out Code Builder in an org where it's been enabled and my user has been given permissions. So here we are in my org. And from here, I can launch my Code Builder environment with just a click of this launch button. When I press that button, my Code Builder environment will open in a new tab. I get my own Code Builder environment in my own domain, and I can even bookmark this URL to go directly to it in the future. I don't even need to go back to my org. Let's start by having a look around. On the left, we see these icons. These icons show you different views and tools that are useful while using Code Builder. And if I click on one, it opens a sidebar that shows you those tools as I click around. In the center is where all the action is. This is where you edit files, build SQL queries, and all kinds of other things. Along the bottom, I can see the org that I'm currently connected to. This can be a Scratch org, a Sandbox org, a production org, even a Trailhead Playground org. I can also change preferences over here. I can change my theme. I can change options on the Salesforce extensions, and lots of other things. This is your own personal code builder environment, so your preferences will not affect your team or other members of the org. Okay, so that's a look around. Let's actually do something, and I'll start by connecting an org. I can do that by clicking on the currently connected org down here, and that brings up the org picker. Now I can authenticate to any orgs, any number of orgs that I want to, and I can just click between them to switch which org I'm currently connected to. Also, I can use these options to authorize additional orgs. For this demo, I'm going to just click on one of the orgs that I've already connected to. All right, and we're connected. Now that we're connected, let's see what Code Builder can do. Okay, so for today's demo, I'm going to be working with the e-bikes project. You've probably seen it, maybe even in other demos this week. But it's one of the most popular code samples on our developer website. And here is the e-bikes project deployed to my org. And the way it works is it's a bike selling thing. It's all fake, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to click on one, and we're going to see the product details load in this right view. I have a new requirement to add an indication of whether a product is available when users click on a product and see it in this view. Currently, they can't see any availability information over here. Okay, so let's use Code Builder to implement this requirement. All right. I've already cloned the e-bikes GitHub repo into my environment, so we're ready to go. Now, I'm familiar with the e-bikes application, and I know it's the product custom object. That's the metadata I need to use that has the availability information in it, but I don't know which field it is. So I'm going to use an awesome tool called the SOCL Builder. With the SOCL Builder, I can build a SOCL query with clicks and then see the results. This is a great tool to quickly check out data, whether you're making a metadata change like I'm going to be doing today, or just troubleshooting. I can open it just by typing SOCL in the command palette. Close this up, make some more room. All right, and like I said, I know it's the product custom object. So I can scroll here to select it, or I can just start typing, and there is my custom object there. For fields, I'm going to select, let's see, name, and you know what? I think it's actually the status object, or the status field. I think that's the one that I'm looking for, and I'll select it just to make sure. So you may have noticed that while I was selecting my object and fields, that the query was being built in the background over here. This is a cool tool to see how SOCL is written by seeing the query getting built as you use these widgets over here to create it. Now I can save this query to a file, and then at any time just open it up and run it to see what data it produces. And speaking of running queries, I'll go ahead and run this one. Okay. And yeah, there we have it. The status field is the field that shows the availability information that the business is looking for. So great, I know what field it is now. When I run a query and get the results, I can also export the results. So if you're looking for a particular piece of information that's in the Salesforce database, or whatever, you can export the data using these buttons over here. This is a great way to check out data for deeper analysis or data cleansing or whatever you might need it for. If you prefer code over clicks, you can also just write your SOCL query directly in the text editor. When you open the SOCL Builder, the text editor opens right next to it, and we'll even keep them synced. Like all of our languages, we support code completion and error detection and things like that. So if I start modifying this query a little bit, maybe I'll add a where clause, and I'll say status. And you can see we got a little red mark because the query is not complete. And I'm using a little code completion here to help me out. All right, so I've written a where clause. And if I flip back to the graphical editor, you can see that we've kept them up to date, and we even have a graphical representation of that where clause. Okay, So now I know that it's the product custom object and it's the status field that I need to work with. So let's look more closely at the application I'm changing to see what metadata we need to change to meet the requirements. All right, so back here, remember, we click on one of the bikes here, and the details of the bike show up here, and we need to add that status field to this view over here. Now, this is a Lightning application, and I know that those UI widgets are created using Lightning Web Components, so that's the metadata I need to grab. Let's say that I'm working with a team in a sandbox, and their code changes are coming in to that sandbox, and I'm not quite sure what changes there have been, so I want to make sure I grab the latest code from the org in order to make sure I'm working on the latest version of the code. I can do that using the org browser. I can access the org browser by clicking on the Salesforce icon on the left, and here it is with all the metadata in my org. So like I mentioned, I know I'm going to be working with a Lightning Web Component here, and I'm pretty sure it's this product card Lightning Web Component. Now I can pull that from the org and open it using this Retrieve and Open Source button. And with a click, we're retrieving the code directly from the org, and we're opening it. Now I've got 4 editors open here because Lightning Web Components are made up of various pieces. I'm going to start with the JavaScript. So the JavaScript is the code that connects our Salesforce data with the Lightning Web Component. So it needs to be pulled, that data needs to be pulled into here. I'm going to import it just like all these other fields in this list are imported. So I'm going to copy paste, make a little adjustment for the status field. Start. You can see a code completion helped me out a little bit there. All right, so I've pulled it into this JavaScript file. Now I need to expose it so that the UI template knows about it. It's just what this comment is telling me to do. All right, and I'll just do the same thing. Copy, paste, follow the pattern that other fields are using, and do that for my new, whoops. And do that for my new field. Okay, so heavy lifting done. The field is now in my Lightning Web Component. But now that it's loaded, we need to display it. And the display is controlled by the HTML file. So here's my UI template for the Lightning Web Component. And we can see here that we have a list of fields that are displayed in our component. So these are all those fields that we see in the product details. And I'm going to use the same pattern here to add my status field right at the top. Okay, and there we have it. So code done. But now this code only lives in this environment. So in order to see it working in an org, I need to deploy it. So to deploy it, I can just use this command right here, deploy the source to org. You can access this command from the right-click menu or the command palette or even from the file explorer over here. All right, so I can see that the source was deployed. So now let's take a look in my org and see if the code change was what I was trying to do. To load the latest version of the component, I just need to reload the page. All right, let's click on one of these, and there it is. Okay, so I can see the status of this product is sold. All right, great. Code change complete. But now that it's complete, I need to share it with my team. And how I do that depends on whatever process you use in your own particular Salesforce organization. So one thing I could do is maybe there's a QA org where everyone looks at the latest code and I need to deploy it there. Well, back in Code Builder, that's as easy as connecting to my QA org and then using that same deploy command that I used to get it to the org I'm working with to push it up to my QA org. Or maybe you use source control, and let's say you're using DevOps Center. DevOps Center will be linked to a Git branch. So you would push your code up to the Git branch so that DevOps Center would know about the change and would pick it up and incorporate it into that process. Whatever your process is, Code Builder has the tools to get the job done.
John, that was awesome. Seeing Lightning Web Component development from the browser, that is awesome. We still have a little bit of time though, so I wonder if we could maybe show off how we could look at debug logs in case changes for folks don't go quite as smoothly as yours just went.
Yeah, good idea, Stephanie. Yeah, there's especially if there's a problem in Apex, you want to gather some debug logs, or just to see what's going on if you have to look deeper into a problem. So I'll show you how to do that from Code Builder. So first, we want to start with a command to turn on Apex debug logging. And there's the command there, turn on Apex debug. And that's setting up everything on the org. All right, debug logging is on. And now we need to run the Apex code that will produce the log. So the thing that I'm interested in debugging, we have to execute it. And in this particular application, I know that the Apex that I'm looking for runs when I load the products into this page. So I'll just reload, and in the background, some Apex is running. It should have, since Apex debug logging is on, it should have produced a log. To get the logs, it's just another command, get Apex debug logs, and there's the one I just produced. I'll click on that, and it'll open the log contents into this text editor. Now, from here, I can simply search to find the information I'm looking for, or if it's more helpful, I can go to the log analyzer to get some other views of this log. And I can do that with yet another command, show Apex log analysis, which opens the log in the log analyzer. And this view that we're looking at now is the call stack of Apex that is viewed as a timeline. But we can also click on these other tabs for other interesting and useful parses of this log. So when it comes to Apex logs, Code Builder has you covered. Now, you've seen how easy it is to connect to your orgs, or change metadata, build SOQL queries, and even look at Apex debug logs in Code Builder. But if you haven't been taking notes during this session, that's okay. Code Builder has resources and interactive tutorials included to guide you. And the way you get to those is using the Salesforce icon with the question mark over here, which will bring you to our Code Builder resource panel, where you can do things like open the welcome page, if you haven't seen it already, and then link to various guides that are included, and even external documentation. So for example, if you've forgotten how to run a SOQL query, you can click here and get step-by-step instructions. All right, that's all the time I have. Back to you, Stephanie.
John, that was fantastic. And John just showed you just a few things you can do with Code Builder. We just scratched the surface here in this short session. This month is the last month to check out the Code Builder beta before we wrap beta and move forward to GA. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. You can hit up this QR code, has all the resources you need. It's available on App Exchange. You can download it, check it out in any org while we're in beta. Whether you're using Code Builder or VS Code, it is the same tooling either way. So if you're already familiar with our tooling in VS Code, you already know Code Builder. But check it out, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. You can also check us out over in Platform Park at the IDE booth. Thank you so much for joining the session, getting up early, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Dreamforce.
Thank you for watching. We would love to get your opinion on this content, so please leave us some feedback on the comments section below. If you did like this content, give that like button a tap. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the Salesforce Admin's YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about being a Salesforce admin in general, head on over to admin.salesforce.com. Thanks again.